Welcome to my shop. Today we're going to be installing a jack plate on this 23-foot Mako. It's an oldie but a goodie here. This thing is a tank. We've got a 2023 Mercury 200 horsepower 4-stroke. We're going to be putting a Bob's hydraulic 6-inch jack plate on here, running the pumps, pulling the engine. Alright, let's see what we need to do to get this beast off this boat. First of all, these motors are very sleek. No exposed handles to remove the hood. First time I seen one of these, it took me a while to figure out how to get the engine cowling off. But it's pretty simple actually. On the top of these hoods, there's a door right here. Push the button, opens up. This is where you can check your oil. You can add oil, and this handle, you push the button in, pick it up, and you lift your hood off. It's heavy but light. Alright, it's a nice pretty motor. It's a 2023. It's got 36 hours on it. It's had it for a few years and doesn't use it very often. I'm going to be installing the jack plate on here, and I'm going to be doing a water pump and gear oil. I guess first thing we need to do is figure out how we're going to lift this big motor. I got lifting eye here and a lifting point here. I'm going to use a chain across the two. We're going to lift it straight up. When we do that, we're going to bolt the jack plate on and put the motor onto the jack plate. Let's see how we can access these bottom transom bolts. Oh man, even the, oh, it's got a bungee cord. I thought I was really getting weak today. Alright, that's better. Got the batteries mounted down here in the bilge. I'm not a big fan of that at all. But this way these boats were designed. They are old. This is an 80s Mako. Floor and everything in this thing is rock solid. He loves this boat. He went and repowered it with a brand new engine, and now he wants some more toys. So looks like we get to the down here we can get to the bottom transom bolts. Up here we get to the top. Okay, I think first thing we need to do is find a chain. It's going to snap on here. Okay, so this is the chain we're going to be using. This is actually the safety chains on the trailer. Very strong, and it's got a couple hooks. I have another pair somewhere that's got snaps that lock it in place, which I like much better, but this should do the job. That's where we hook it in. Make sure when you put your chains on an engine to hoist it up that you're not going to be putting a lot of force on objects on the motor. These Mercs here are pretty clear, so they there's nothing really in the way. I'm going to take up some of the slack so I get a more direct lift. There's always sirens going on around here. I think every one of my videos got sirens in the background. It's a major highway over there, US 19, and they drive a little crazy around here. Okay, so we're going to use this engine hoist right here. Just caution when you lift these engines. These engines are heavy. 473 pounds. So it's pretty heavy. You gotta be careful what you do when you're moving this hoist around and lifting these things. Okay, so I got my chains up here. Start to relieve some pressure off the engine. Not trying to lift it, just adjust everything. So we're going to grab 3/4 inch socket and 3/4 inch open end and start removing these bolts. I like to do the lower ones first so that I'm not struggling while the engine is starting to come off the boat. Alright, so I have to pull it out from this side. Also looks like the customer, whoever mounted this engine, it's got a lot of 5200 on this. I like 5200, but sometimes it can be real hard to get the engine off when it's pretty much glued to the boat. Couple things you need to think about when you're wanting to put a jack plate on your boat. It's two questions you need to ask yourself first. When you set this engine back 6 inches or 8 inches, whatever the jack plate may be, are you going to have enough rigging for the engine to still steer properly with the new setback? Because now you're stretching all of your rigging. The other thing is, how heavy is your motor versus your boat? Because whenever you put the engine back further, the further you go back on something, the heavier it is. This object weighs this amount, up here it weighs more. So now your boat's going to also perform a little differently. It can be beneficial, it can also harm the way your boat performs. And with things like low transoms, this boat being the size it is and the width, this boat handles pretty well, I'm assuming, regardless of the weight of this engine. But when you set it back, it brings the water line up a hair higher as well, because you've got more weight on the back of the boat. The other thing to consider, how strong is your transom? If you got a good strong transom, you don't really have anything to worry about if everything is rated for this boat. If you've got a transom that's kind of questionable and now you're putting a jack plate on, you're adding extra weight, extra strain, then it can become an issue too. So basically, is your transom strong enough to support the engine with the additional weight in the setback? Is your rigging long enough to reach where it's traveling? And also, how is the boat going to perform when you're out in the water and now we've got added weight to the back? Is it going to porpoise? Is it going to ride well? Think about these things before you just pick up a jack plate because you want to go skinny. Alright, let's get back at it. The world's longest bolts. So there's two. Alright, let's start on top, check our chain, plenty of tension. As much 5200 as I see on here, I might be wrong, but I think once I get these bolts out, this engine is still going to be stuck on the boat. 3 of them are out. So here we go, last bolt. We'll take this one out from this side. Always put yourself in a position where you're not going to get crushed if something did come down on you. Make sure you're always aware of this and your situations are good. Double check everything, because 500 pounds hurts. Okay, turn it out. The engine's starting to shift. Okay. Bolts are out. Okay, so our engine is still stuck on the back of the boat. This is the part where we give it a little pump, see if it starts to want to come away. Seen them actually almost lift the boat up before. Give it a little rock back and forth. Yeah, he's got a lot of sealing on here. Alright, kind of got lucky on that one. Made some crackling noise, but it wasn't the fiberglass. Okay, so now that we got our engine in the air, let's go unpack this jack plate and see what we got. Alright, big box. Okay, so the first thing we got is a smaller box inside a big box. Ooh, pretty. I guess Pops now uses Lucas hydraulic oil. Very cool. I personally like the electric jack plates they make. It's kind of like a old school tilt and trim motor. It's inside the Bob's jack plate, so you're just running power out. You're not running hydraulic lines or trying to mount a hydraulic pump or anything like that, but they're not quite as beefy as these, and this is probably what we need to use on this one. But it looks pretty. Alright, and there's our heavy jack plate. It's another thing, the jack plate alone weighs a lot. This thing probably weighs 30 pounds. So not only are you adding a setback, but you're also adding additional weight at the jack plate and the pumps and things like that. Okay, so this side is going to go to the boat, and we'll mount it in exact same mounting point as the motor was mounted on, and we can determine in the back if we want to elevate it or we want to pretty much mount it where it was. When the further you go back on the boat, water comes up off the boat at an angle, so the further you go back, every 12 inches they say you can lift an engine 1 inch and it won't cavitate. A lot of times the jack plate you can get away with an inch. Sometimes you get away with an inch right on the back of the transom, just depending on the setup and the motor. But it's best to make sure you're always going to pick up water and not have any issues, so use caution with that as well. The other reason for possibly raising the motor up on this jack plate is that a lot of people don't think about. The engine no longer trims into the boat. The engine trims right over the jack plate, so is your hydraulic steering going to crash into this and break your lines in your hydraulic ram? Sometimes people have to actually raise it up before they can even trim the motor. So you want to try to find a good balance between that, where you're able to trim the motor, it's not too high, everything's solid. So let's go look out here. I'm probably going to go ahead and mount the hydraulic lines on this plate before I mount it as well, because it's tough to get your hands down in here between the transom and this and mount hydraulic lines. Okay, we're going to go ahead and take this hoist and hopefully not drop the engine. Need to bring it away from the boat so I can work on it. Come on, buddy. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is get a blade, clean up some of the silicone. It looks like they actually use silicone. Maybe. No, it's pretty thick for silicone. Let's clean our surface off, and we're going to reapply sealant and get our jack plate mounted. Like I said, I'm going to put the lines on the jack plate before I set it on the boat, and I'm going to need more space, but this is enough to clean it up. We're going to take our scraper. If you're using a razor blade on a transom, don't dig into it because it'll take nicks out of the boat. We're not trying to cut this boat apart, just trying to get the old sealant off. And you want to try to get it nice and clean. It doesn't have to be flawless. The objective in the sealant is to keep water out of these holes. That's the point in a boat, is to keep it floating and keep it from filling up with water. Well, these top ones are normally not as much of a problem, but you still want to keep the moisture out of the transom so that it doesn't rot. These old boats have a wood transom on them, and you don't want water getting in there either. So this one goes into the boat. We absolutely want to make sure that this is sealed good. We want to seal this up to keep the water out of the transom as well. So you want all 4 of them to be sealed well. You don't have to go way overboard and coat the whole thing with silicone or 5200. And like I was saying about the 5200, use caution, because if you put too much on there, it can really get ugly. I am now convinced that this was silicone and not 5200. It's coming off a little easy, and it's a little bit soft. It's a decent grade silicone, whatever you use, but and the dealer might have mounted this engine as well, most likely. So I'm guessing they use a pretty decent grade of silicone. Let's go over here and get our hydraulic lines. No direction on these. They're not left or right or one directional. They go on either way. These are compression fittings, so you really don't need to use any sealant on them or crank them down too terribly bad. They hold up pretty good. Okay, it's 9/16 fittings on these. The way a hydraulic pump works is you got a lower fill and an upper fill. For this pump to raise, the lower fill gets fluid and it pushes the ram up. To lower, the upper ram gets fluid and it drops it back down. I'm going to thread them on by hand as much as you can, and that way you're also making sure that you're not cross-threading anything. Don't start bolts with wrenches or impacts. So our hydraulic lines are on. I'm going to bring it over here. Get my engine a little bit further away from the boat. Go, should be more than enough. Go easy, big guy. Okay. So once you guys have gotten the majority of the silicone or the sealant off your transom, what you're going to want to do is take a razor blade flat. You want the blade to be parallel to the transom and just kind of scrub it. It'll help you get the rest of the stuff off. Okay. Okay guys, so the sealant I'm using is Dynatex. It's white silicone sealant. Pretty solid silicone, it's not bad. And get yourself a rag while you're doing this as well. And we're gonna make circles. Overkill, but that'll work. Just now I want to take my bolts, bump them back out, just have a ledge to put my jack plate on. And we're going to bring this bad boy up, set it on the 2 bolts, hold me in place. Bolt in, okay. Keep it braced, but now you don't have to fight it weight-wise. Placing a washer on the inside and our bolt. But you've got a couple bolts threaded up. You're usually pretty secure and can walk away if you need to. Until that point, use caution, because this 30 pounds or whatever it weighs, it'll really hurt your toes. Just that's what a friend told me. Alright, bottom bolts. We got transom washers. Next bolt, second bolt down in here. Okay, so looks like I now have 4 bolts sticking in holes a little bit. I'm going to get a couple washers for the bottom ones on the jack plates. You don't necessarily need them, I just like having them there. The lower ones are tough to get to. When the plate's hooked up, you can raise it up and these lower ones become a little easier to get to, and that's once again where these hydraulic lines kind of get in your way. But it is doable. Just use patience and persistence. Sometimes you got to get on the ground, turn around. Yeah, big motor would definitely hurt. Alright, that one's in. Or not in, but started. Open end wrench. Let's start with the bottom ones. Run these down. That one's tight. That's it. Ran down. Next, the upper bolts. I always try to do the hard stuff first so that life gets easier as I go. Last bolt. Okay. Woo! Nice. And my silicone is all gushy on the inside, which is okay with me. I can trim it if I want to, or hell, just leave it. But I probably will clean it up. I just gotta wait till the plate's hooked up and I can lift it up. Definitely made a good seal though. Alright, let's get these out of the way. And we need to get our engine back on here. Now on the engine side, we use short bolts. Use caution pushing an engine hoist sideways. I've seen an engine fall over. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my bolts and I'm going to put them in from this direction. I'm going to keep as much obstacles as you can from the moving components. Okay. I always put some washers on this side so your bolt's not rubbing against this cast aluminum. There's one. Let's see where we're at on the second one. Come up, come down, we need to come up. Come on, buddy. Okay, that looks like it may work. Same deal, we're going to come from the inside. Washer. Honestly, while I'm here, I think I've changed my mind on these upper bolts here and probably the lower. I'm going to put washers on the inside as well. Keep that stainless steel and the aluminum from putting pressure on each other. Strength is good. Okay, one. I'm going to go add a washer on the other side we've already done. Hopefully it's still loose enough to remove. Nope, it's got some pressure on it, so I'm going to have to lower this thing just a hair. That'll work. So we can take this bolt out of here by hand. Put a washer on it. Go back in. Washer on this side. I'm going to snug them up a hair. I don't want to run them all the way down. I still have the bottom bolts to do, but this gives me some security if this engine was to have a problem or fall off this hoist. I know I'll be okay. Okay. So you don't want to tighten them all the way down because then you'll find that you can't get the blower bolts in correctly. Just trying to take some pressure off. Okay, good enough. It also helps to tilt this down, but when you have these bolts tightened like this, you've snugged them down pretty good. You should be able to come down here and slowly lower your engine hoist just enough and it'll roll itself into the transom. And you're going to stop. You still want the hoist on there, but you want it brought to the transom so it's easier to put the bolts in and tighten it down. Okay, so same deal with these bottom bolts. So we are going to run them in from this direction. And run me down. So now that we've got our bolts secure, we can go ahead and lower this engine. Let's remove our chains. Okay, so now we got our jack plate mounted to the boat. Looks like there's enough clearance here for this engine to trim all the way up. He might have to trim it a hair up on the jack plate, not certain yet, but it looks like it should clear pretty nicely. We're on here solid. Let's go check the steering and the lengths of our cables. Alright, let's steer left. That's the furthest point right there. So the rigging itself looks okay. This steering line looks like it's pulling a little bit. So fortunately we got a little slack in there. Shouldn't be an issue. Alright, no problem. Looks like our rigging's going to work. That's the furthest point. And when we turn back the other way, it's got plenty of room. Okay, so we're going to center out. Then we're going to need to find a place to put our pump. Okay, so the bracket's already on here. We mount it straight to the wall. We're going to go ahead and put our and fittings on here. And we've got to use this light. It kind of works. So there's probably a little bit of fluid in this pump just for shipping purposes. We'll get our fittings in now while we can. I'll make my final connections, tightening it down after I'm mounted up to the wall. I just want to get these in place so I'm not trying to work down in the bilge. So these are another compression fitting. This tightens down to it, so I screw this in first, and that's part of the reason I want to do them here, because I may not have a lot of room down there for some reason to tighten these, and I'd rather deal with that now than then. Okay, so let's get the pump down in here. There's bungee cord set up. Yeah, this ain't gonna work. Hits the splash well and doesn't go all the way back to the transom. Okay, so we're gonna have to find a new location for this pump. Not good, man, not good. Some kind of compartment here. I don't believe it's a live well, but it's dry storage, I think. So let me see what we got in here. And we got a lot of random things. I wonder if I can get my pump in right here. Stay nice and dry, and it would be a great place for it. I just don't know if this compartment is too... Okay, so I think I found a good spot to mount this pump. I had it in this compartment earlier. It looked like it was going to come above the door and the door was going to hit it. But when it sits right back here, which I think is a fantastic spot, it actually just clears. I mean, this lid is about to sit on top of it. So this looks like this is going to work really good. It just clears the door. It's almost perfect, to be honest. Now I just need to figure out how to get the hoses and the electrical wires through the bottom of this floor or through the side. There are two walls right here, and it would be ideal to cut through here through the side and go straight down, but they actually make us glass the bottom of it as well. So this compartment is not really a hollow compartment, and it might be able to go low. There is a through hole fitting down there that goes to nothing. It's a drain for this compartment, and we don't want it to fill up with water. Also has an overflow, for whatever reason. Almost like it could be a live well, but we've got speakers in here, and this is no longer, if it ever was, it's not going to be a live well anymore, and it hasn't been for a while. So let me figure out how I can get these through here. I might possibly cut low in this compartment, maybe not. Well, it does look like I can go this way behind me, so that could be nice as well. Yeah, okay. So it looks like I can go back this way and then into the bilge. Make sure I can go through there first. Some of these belts can be pretty tough to try to find a way to work on them. I'm pretty sure I can go right through the back of that compartment, which this could work out really good. I tried to really think it out before I cut a hole in somebody's boat. And we're going to get a handy dandy Bosch drill. What kind of hole saw are we going to use for this? These hole saws should do the trick. And we got our arbor. Thinking about that big. Just one. Okay. Alright. It's gonna make a hole in this man's vessel. And we're going to try to go out the back. Let's hope this is a good spot. Ooh, digs fast. Okay. There we go. We're straight out the back. Hopefully into the bilge. And if I can feed my hoses into there, this would be really good. Sometimes you make a hole and you can't get to it. And that's not the case here. Alright. Woo! Yeah, see if we can find the other hose. Okay guys, so our pump is in here. I've gotten the lines through here. I don't have a lot of slack on them at this point, so I'm kind of hoping to maybe run this one down around here and the other one there. I can get more slack if necessary, but right now this is what I got, so I'm going to roll with it. This must be the bottom hose, I'm guessing. I don't like how these hoses are running over all the fuel lines and everything, and as hard as it was to get it in here, I'm going to push it back through and rerun it. I don't like half-ass things. I'm trying to do the best I can, and this ain't the best I can. It'll also give me a little more space to run the hoses a little more accordingly. And it's a little more clearance. Ain't perfect. And how about the same bend to them? I don't know which one goes up or which one goes down. You can always reverse the switch on the dash, I guess, if needed. Alright, no worries. Whichever one fits the best and feels good is what I'm going to go with. So let's pull our fitting off. And start throwing our fitting in. And we're snugged up. The other one, not sure where I'm going to run this one yet. Got more slack on this one, so I might go ahead and run this uphill a little bit so I can get a nice curve on it without crimping the line. I haven't tightened these yet, so I can adjust them to take tension off the angles. Okay, I'm going to tighten our AN fitting down. By hand. Here and We're tight. Hopefully we'll have no leaks when we're ready. And I got to work with. I think that came out pretty good. Okay, now we are going to drop our main power through this hole. And we got a really long harness. It's endless. Miles and miles of harness. Alright, so I'm getting the power wires down here. So I'm getting into my hoses. Okay, so that is all the distance we're gonna have. It's perfect if I want to hook it up straight to the battery. I want to hook it to the battery switch, so to be honest, looks like we might actually be able to achieve that. I may have to add some wire. We shall see. So I'm going to leave a jack plate powered up all the time. I don't find that safe. I mean, it's fused, but still. Okay. So we can get to here, so I can get to my ground off the factory lead. Alright, this is good. Not quite to the battery switch, but I'm not going to run it to this positive right here. I'm going to run the negative here, and I want to run it to the battery switch. I kind of refuse to leave a boat on a live circuit, no matter what I got to do. Shortcuts will leave you in pain. Yeah, somebody siliconed that one pretty good. Alright, come on, buddy. Wow. Super silicone. So he has his battery switch mounted on the outside, and it looks like he's just feeding it through a hole in there. Battery switch is off. This is our main out. This is battery 1, battery 2, main out. We're going to put our jack plate wires onto this main out. Right when the switch is off, the jack plate is off. And like I say all the time, I don't like to leave things running all the time. I don't believe in it. It is definitely hot today. Okay. That's good and tight. I'm going to push our wire through here. Catch it on the other side. And we're going to remount our battery switch. Okay. Okay, so I was able to get all my battery mounted up. My pump is now on the on and off cutoff switch, battery switch, and I got my harness pulled all the way to the front. It was really hard to do with the camera on my head, so I went ahead and I ran the harness up to the console. So I wasn't able to display that. I'm having a lot of problems with cameras today, heating up and batteries dying and so forth. I've looked under the dash, and I think the best place for this switch that I need to mount, this is a switch they give you. It's got a housing that snaps in, so you cut out for the housing about 2.5 inches or so away. It's nice and clear, and I think I'd like it to be level with the bottom of this key switch. I think that it looks pretty good right there. So what I'm going to do is mark the inside with a Sharpie. And I'm going to cut on the outside of the hole. Careful. Try to not make unnecessary marks with a Sharpie on the console because it's hard to get this off there. Pencil probably would have been more appropriate, but I plan on cutting it out. Alright. I should cut this housing or just put the switch in. I think I'm going to cut the housing. I like the way this goes here, so what I'm going to do is line that up the best I can. I think it's right there. Make sure we're nice and square, which I do believe. And I'm going to trace the outside of it. These are the fly-by-wire Merc controls here. These are good controls. Okay. So now to cut this out, I'm going to first close this so that I don't step on it and break the door. What we're going to do is drill out holes in the corners. I'm going to drill there, and drill here, and I'm going to go look underneath to make sure that I'm not close to anything when I run my saw. I need to make extra work. Looks like I am okay with that. Alright, close this back up. I'm going to cut this hole out. I use the snap-on air saws. They cut nicely. And I'm going to trace this out a little bit small on the inside of the line. That way I can enlarge it rather than add to it. It might be alright. Let me try this out. Not bad. Okay. Where we're at, it's pretty good. It's not exactly flawless, but pretty close. Alright. So there's our housing now. Feed the wires up through here. These are our power wires for the jack plate switch. And we're going to crimp our connectors on that they gave us. I'm going to put this stuff back. No longer need my handy dandy air saw. Great tool though. Crimping tools. I am not positive if these are heat shrink connectors they gave us from Bob's, but it's a nice stout connector and I'm going to go ahead and use it. This is what they supplied, and I like the way they feel, like real strong. So we're going to go about right here. All 3-prong rocker switches. The middle is your positive. Okay. Now you got green for up, blue for down. I'm not 100% positive which orientation I hooked the hydraulic hoses on, so I'm going to leave this out so that I can switch them if necessary to reverse the orientation for the switch. Not sure if it's labeled. Yep, up and down. Okay, terminals are on, everything's cut out. So here's some of these scraps. Let's go put some hydraulic fluid in this pump. And we'll flip the battery on and get it primed up. So we can fill this pump up. Here's your fill right here. You're going to fill it up to the fill line, but once you purge the pump, use the pump, it's going to draw fluid out of here. So once you know that you've gotten all your fluid in your hydraulic lines and in the pump, you're going to come back and top this pump off. There should be a full line there. Meantime, we need some kind of fluid, or we can't use it at all. Okay, let's turn our battery on, activate our pump. Let's play with the switch. Oh, we're making noise. Okay, that's up. Man, what a good guess. I guess I better play the lottery tonight. That came out perfect. Snaps right in. That is actually pretty. I like it a lot. Okay, we raise all the way up. We need more fluid. Raise down, back up. We're stopping there for some reason. That's confusing me. It looks like we still got plenty of fluid in here. Yeah, we got lots of fluid. Alright. Put the cap on. I don't think the cap has to be on to run it, but we're hitting a certain point and stopping. Pretty sure they don't put any stopping points in here, they just work. And our bolts are not hitting anything, so there's no issues there. Let's try this again. Down. No problem. Up. Okay. It is a bit confusing to me. Probably not the answer, but I'm going to go ahead and add some more fluid because it's a hair low. It's about halfway. And maybe that's not enough. Just seems like it should be to me as long as there's fluid in there, but I'm not positive yet. Cap back on. Let's try again. Down. Up. Seems like it's actually getting worse. I'm assuming there's air in there, but I don't know the reason why it's doing what it's doing right now. Okay, that's 100% down. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. We got that air pocket out of there. Alright, so all the way in the up position, it's going to hold the most amount of fluid in the reservoir. So let's see where our balance is at. Yeah, we're a bit low in there. Drew some fluid down once the air pocket got out of there. Need a whole lot though. We'll just finish this cord off. It's pretty full to me. Alright, there's that. Let's go play with the button again. Here's my question, how do we trim? Let's make sure that our ram clears the jack plate. They got the trim stopped right there, maybe for the way the transom was before, so you can actually trim it up further. If you're to adjust the trim stop, it would give you more, but it's very clear where it's at. There's no problems there. What I can do, jack this bad boy up, so that when I go to do the lower unit, I'm not struggling. All right, trim down. I'm going to adjust the electronic trim stop on there. I'm not sure if you can do it on an electric or a sensor, or you got to pull a laptop out. You have to pull a laptop out. I can't do it, but if I can, I'm going to try to adjust it to get a little more trim out of it. All right, we'll leave that thing jacked up. Key off. Battery switch off. Let's go in here and clean up our lines, tighten it up a bit. Okay guys, so that wraps it up. Jack plate is installed. Looking good. Nice clearance. Keep hearing a bunch of noise in here. I wonder if there's a ghost in the boat. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Okay. Turn the battery switch on. That's the stereo system bumping. Battery switch is off. Okay, there's our pump install. This is our okay guys, that's it. If you like this kind of work, just like and subscribe. Appreciate the support, and I'll keep on making videos. Have a good one. Welcome to my shop.